My name is Marshall Teller. I knew my new hometown was going to be different from where I grew up in New Jersey, but this is ridiculous. Nobody believes me, but Erie, Indiana is the center of weirdness for the entire planet. Item. Elvis lives on my paper route.
Thank you, little paper boy.
Item. Bigfoot eats out of my trash. Item. Even man's best friend is weird. Still don't believe me? You will. It's easy to believe almost anything when you consider just how big the universe is. It's even easier to believe the unbelievable here in my little corner of the universe. That's why when Professor Nigel Zircon rolled into town with his traveling museum of the parabelievable, Simon and I were the first in line.
Don't push. There's room for everybody. Step right up. Step right up.
Hey, no cuts!
Oh, I'm sorry,
Step
kids.
for those with
Official
high
business.
blood pressure.
Marty, sure.
Boys, show the mayor some respect.
Existing
Oh, thanks, Eddie.
heart condition. Step right up. Step right up.
I was born for this.
Simon and I had come to the right place, all right. Professor Zircon was a scientist, explorer, and the world's foremost expert on weirdness. Something Simon and I know more than a little about.
It's unusual.
It's neat.
It's El Gordo, two-headed sow of the Yucatan.
This is much better than our mouse in the pop bottle.
Discovered in 1932, El Gordo ate enough food each day to feed all the first graders in Normal, Illinois for 1 week.
Unbelievable.
I'll say.
I just love science.
Son, it isn't exactly science.
Call it whatever you want. It's generating hubbub inside Erie city limits without a permit.
Incredible definition. Check it out. You can see every detail.
How's he do it? Ours always comes out blurry.
That's why he's the best.
It's nice to meet someone so young who can appreciate good evidence. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm
Professor Nigel Zircon. We know. I'm Marshall Teller. This is Simon Holmes.
Can I have your autograph?
So, you boys are interested in the parabelievable?
Excuse me. Excuse me. I'd like a word with you, Mr. Professor.
All in good time, Mr. Mayor. I have an important announcement to make.
Ahem. And now, the world's foremost authority on parabelievability, seeker, scientist, recent guest on The Tonight Show, Professor Nigel Zircon.
Yeah.
Citizens of Erie, Mr. Mayor, let me congratulate all of you for showing the courage to seek out the mysteries of the world by visiting my humble museum. If we open our minds, there's much to be seen and much more to be believed. In my unending search for the truth, I have discovered an object about to enter the Earth's orbit. Now, my colleagues at NASA have assured me that this object is neither American or Russian in its origin. Therefore, this leaves only one possibility.
Extraterrestrial.
Exactly! Its purpose and its origin are a mystery, but I have no doubt as to its destination. According to my calculations, sometime within the next 24 hours, this object will crash to Earth right here. Erie, Indiana.
Finally, there was somebody who I could believe. Better yet, there was somebody who might believe me.
Unidentified space station, 3 o'clock.
Airplane.
What if he thinks we're just a couple of kids?
We are a couple of kids. But once the professor sees the quality of our work, he can't say no.
Right.
We gotta act like pros.
Pros. Got it. But you better do all the talking.
This should do all the talking for us.
Bigfoot.
Professor Zircon wrote 2 books on the subject. Print taken March 8th, 1991. Mr. and Mrs. Walter Funk's backyard. Finally, somebody will know what we're talking about. Professor Zircon is the kind of guy who can help us blow the lid off Erie. I wasn't so sure if a scholar and scientist like the professor would have time to see us, but we had to try. We had to try because for the first time since moving to Erie, there was somebody who would understand that Erie is not a normal place. Simon! Careful.
I'm nervous.
Remember, we're professionals.
How does it look?
Don't worry, you're gonna love it. It's my best work yet.
They'll be lined up round the block. Let's have a look.
Excuse me, Professor Zircon.
Beat it. And don't screw up again. Gentlemen, how good of you to drop by.
Well, I know we look like just a couple of kids, but we have some important things to talk to you about. Got a minute? Who could have believed that he could be so nice? The man who had tracked the abominable snowman into bed, dined with pygmies, and pickled El Gordo. The Professor Zircon treated Simon and me like kings. Therefore, it is our belief that Erie is the center of weirdness for the entire planet.
As you gentlemen know, what you need is proof, proof, and more proof.
I was hoping you would say that. A footprint of the Midwest Bigfoot. Show him, Simon.
You found it here in Erie?
That's right. Your books came in handy when we were identifying it. It's a left bipod with the opposable thumb.
It's a box of dirt clods.
It's broken. But it was just like you described it in your book.
Is there some problem?
Not for long.
Yeah, Deputy. Problem is, this museum of yours is on public property, and in this town, the public is us. Officer Knight, read him the citation.
Violation 42A-77, leaky oil pan. Violation of Civic Code PDQ-69, unsightly display of satellite antenna in business district. Violation of Traffic Code.
This could go on forever. Let's cut to the chase. We don't like outsiders here, especially the kind that go around making predictions about UFOs without a permit.
Let me tell you something about Erie, Mr. Professor. You know, people from these parts like to breathe through their mouth. They just do, understand?
No, let me handle this, man. See, the point is, Erie is an all-American normal town, and we aim to keep it that way. An emergency meeting of the Erie Chamber of Commerce decided that you better get your, what do you call it?
My museum?
Yeah, whatever. Get it out of here. If this thing isn't off public property by sundown,
We'll track you down and write you up.
see you in the next life, Professor.
O ye of little faith.
Sorry about that, Professor.
That's okay, son. It's a small world filled with little minds, but I'm used to it. I'd love to talk further with you boys, but I must be moving on.
You're leaving?
You heard the man.
Wait a minute. I know where you can park.
Oh, I'm sure my husband won't mind your museum parked in our driveway. It's a beautiful, vehicle.
Really, this isn't necessary.
I'm sure Edgar will be home any minute.
Not identified yet, sir.
Very well.
You are a hero, Professor Zircon.
Oh, no, Mrs. Teller. I'm a businessman, a scientist, but not a hero.
As far as those two boys are concerned, you and a wrestler named Algernon the Invincible are it.
Oh, well, Marshall is a fine young man. You and Mr. Teller are doing a first-rate job.
You two are going to have a lot to talk about. He's a scientist, too.
Oh, really?
What the heck? What the heck is that rolling museum of the ridiculous doing in my driveway? Professor Zircon. Hi.
Hello.
I'm gonna eat outside.
This is very cozy, you two.
Mom, science isn't cozy. What are we having?
Space noodles and moon sauce, sir.
Macaroni and cheese? Go for it, Simon. I'll cover for you.
Thanks for the lovely dinner, Mrs. Teller.
You're welcome, Simon.
Mom?
Yes, sweetheart?
How are Dad and Professor Zircon getting along?
Oh, fine.
Project Research.
Yes, that's right.
Edgar is designing a new food processor that has a... What does it have, dear?
We're trying to come up with a new speed, something between whip and frappe. Nothing as exciting as...
No. I have the utmost respect for your work, Mr. Teller.
Well, all Marshall talks about is your prediction. I think it's wonderful.
And the likelihood of a space particle actually hitting the Earth is, what, like 1 in 100,000? And how do you track it?
Well, Cindy,
There's not going to be any unidentified space debris landing in Erie. And I'm sorry, there's nothing wonderful about the boys wasting the evening in the front yard. I mean, why don't we just send them out there on Christmas to get Polaroids of Santa's reindeer? I happen to know a little something about orbital mechanics and...
Edgar, please.
No, dear, I have to make my stand. For your information, Professor Zircon, I interned at the Smithsonian Institute before entering Syracuse to do my undergraduate work on archaeology. And then I...
Who's out there? Professor?
There it is.
Professor?
Then I received the NASA scholarship to MIT, where my thesis mattered. What is it exactly? We received rave reviews.
The space thing is here. Come on, we're so right where it landed.
shall we?
Hurry! This way!
No. My experience tells me it's over to the northeast more.
No, it's over here.
Really?
Come on.
Come on, Dad.
I'm coming.
There it was, daring us to believe. The Professor, Simon, and I are used to the unbelievable. Goes with the territory.
This is even more impressive than I'd imagined.
But for Cindy, Mom, and Dad, this was big-time weird. Discovering the unidentified space object was the biggest thing that ever happened to Erie. Suddenly, the whole town was daring to believe. Everybody was getting their 15 seconds of fame. And I mean everybody.
Now, it's too early to say, of course, but this may change the way we look at the past, present, and future.
This is only scratching the surface. You wouldn't believe some of the things that go on around here. For instance...
You might say that we here in Erie feel that we each own a piece of this incredible thing.
The genuine item does say I have been to Erie and seen the space thing.
Who knows? Maybe this is our first contact with life from another planet. Don't you think so, honey?
No comment.
What's the big whoop? It's just some sort of time capsule from another galaxy. See, we here in Erie are simple, down-to-earth folk. Weird, bizarre, unexplained things. They never happen around these parts. Now, given that fact, I think that our last offer is more than generous.
Well, I'm very flattered by your generous offer, but of course, this object isn't for sale at any price.
I knew that guy that had the Holy Tortilla Shrine in Indianapolis. He put all his kids through college.
Let us talk among ourselves. Maybe we can improve our offer.
When's lunch?
What's the matter, Dad?
I'm in a tough spot.
I know. You don't like the professor.
No, you see, it isn't that I don't like him. I just don't want to see you get disappointed. I remember how crushed you were when you found out that Santa Claus wasn't real. You stayed up all night in front of the chimney with a Polaroid just to prove me wrong. Then when he doesn't show up, you refuse to open your presents. I mean, I had a lot of fun with your train set.
Daddy did show up. Only the camera was broken. But that's not the point. The point is, I saw the space thing fall from the sky. I saw it and found it. Just because it didn't happen in your laboratory doesn't mean it's not real.
Marshall, the man is a con artist. Everything, and I mean everything in that museum is a hoax. I mean, even his name is phony.
You're wrong. You're wrong, and I'm gonna prove it.
Marshall! Wait! Well done, Edgar, well done.
Marshall, I don't like this. What are we looking for?
The fact was, I didn't like it either, and I didn't know what I was looking for. But I had to prove something to my dad and myself. Whistle if you hear something.
Bigfoot. What is it? What are those?
They're pythons. And that's how he makes his big footprints. Dad's right. Shh. Yep. Fake IDs.
I liked it better when I thought all this stuff was real.
Simon is the master of the understatement. The more we looked, the more we found, until there was nothing left of Professor Zircon. Operation Unidentified Space Object.
So the conversion rate would make that what?
It didn't surprise me that the powers that be would try to rook the professor out of our space thing and use it for their own purposes.
Well, you drive a hard bargain, Professor. On behalf of the Erie Yoshizaki Consortium, we're prepared to make you our final offer. $1 million for sole ownership of the space thing.
It's a deal.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Hey, we're doing business here.
Marshall?
It's a fake. He's a fake.
What are you talking about?
It's all in here.
But this is an outrage. These are my personal files.
Operation Space Object will work best if we find a small, isolated town with an ineffective government and an overbearing, money-grabbing mayor.
Get that guy.
How you feeling, Marshall?
Crummy.
Yeah, I know how it is. I felt the same way after the Iran-Contra hearings.
You know how you said I'd be disappointed if I found out there was no Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Well, this is worse. I mean, I never wanted to be like Santa Claus, riding around in a sleigh with reindeer and stuff, but I really thought Professor Zircon was somebody I wanted to be.
Marshall, sometimes in life, it's gonna seem like there's nothing worth believing in. But I want you to know there's one thing you can always count on. One thing that's never gonna change. That's the fact that your mother and I love you. No matter what.
Hey, Edgar. Marshall, I was just gonna throw this away. You want it?
Sure.
We'll take care of it.
Even though it's not real, maybe we should still put it in the evidence locker.
I was thinking about that, too. Psst. Psst. What are you doing here?
You're a good kid, and you deserve an explanation. Well, I could complain about my truck payments and my alimony payments, but the fact is that I was going for one big score so that I could retire. I'm tired of being the amazing Professor Zircon. I just want to be plain old Phil Zirconowitz.
But people look up to you. They think all that stuff is true.
People believe what they want to believe. You know, there's no such thing as UFOs or Bigfoot.
There most certainly is.
Oh, this is Claude. There's something the matter with him.
Hi. What's that thing?
It's your phony space junk.
That's not the space dealie I planted. Mine was much more realistic. Heck, that thing doesn't even blink.
What is it then?
Where did it come from, then?
My, there's got to be a logical explanation for all of this. I don't believe it.
A real UFO. It kind of looks like a white dot on a black background.
Well, at least it's proof. Our picture looked like every other crummy picture I'd ever seen of a UFO. It could be almost anything, but for Simon and me, it represented something very important. It allowed us to believe in the unbelievable again.